Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Game Changer. I'm your host Maryam Zia. In today's show, we will discuss and explore Pakistan and Uzbekistan's bilateral relations and how the enhanced relationship between the two countries can bring regional prosperity and can lead to regional connectivity. We will be talking about CPEC aspects of the connectivity between the two countries. We will be also talking about that how Uzbekistan is emerging as one of the leading economies of Europe and Central Asian region. In today's show, we will also be discussing Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari's visit to Russia and the bilateral ties that are evolving between the two countries. To discuss this and more, I have been joined in the studios by Mr. Sheharyar Khan, who is an international relations expert. Thank you very much for joining in today's show. And we have been joined on Skype by Mr. Fazal Rahman, who is an international relations expert. Welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us. And so let me start with you, Mr. Sheharyar, that for greater regional connectivity, Uzbekistan can play a very important role. So what can what role can Uzbekistan play for greater regional prosperity and connectivity if we look at in the backdrop of CPEC?
So Maryam, first of all, thank you for inviting me. I would like to start off by saying that Uzbekistan is very quickly emerging as a hub for regional connectivity in Central Asia and South Asia. So it is the gateway state that basically connects Pakistan through Afghanistan to Central Asia, and through Afghanistan and Pakistan, Uzbekistan and the Central Asian republics, they get an access to the Arabian Sea, and through the Arabian Sea to the Indian Ocean. So Uzbekistan's geopolitical and its strategic location is very important in the whole overall framework of CPEC in which we are operating. So very recently, the ML1 railway project was included in the second phase of CPEC. And now Pakistan and Uzbekistan are having talks and discussions on extending this project through Afghanistan to Uzbekistan as well.
Right. So let's talk about this trans-regional project, railway project that would be connecting Uzbekistan, Pakistan, and Afghanistan as well. So, Mr. Fazlur Rahman, what do you think of this trans-regional project, railway project specifically, that would be connecting these countries? What are the hurdles so far?
Well, actually, as far as the potential is concerned, there is a huge potential for the implementation of this project, but still it is a very ambitious project and needs huge resources, huge investment to construct this connectivity. But I think that there is a resolve, there is a political will to go in that direction and develop connectivity through railway as well. Because rail transportation is much more economical and cheaper as compared to the road transportation. So I think that as far as the willingness of the partner states is concerned, that is very much there. But it is how this project is going to be financed is yet to be seen. So we are actually, at the initial stage of planning it, and at the same time trying to work out the feasibilities. But as far as the pledges are involved, I think we have to wait and see how the things are pan out.
But these are landlocked states and countries we are talking about. What kind of structural mechanisms would be required for the implementation, for the successful implementation of these important projects?
This connectivity is going to be largely for trade and for people-to-people connectivity. Like tourism and other things. So primarily we have to decide with them the tariffs, the taxes which are going to be levied on certain products and produced, and the kind of transit trade regime we have to establish, which is a standard regime and acceptable to all the member states through which these goods are going to be pass through. So it's a comprehensive framework that we have to work out beforehand, and it's kind of an expert work. They are going to determine what are the products which needs to be taxed and according to the value, according to the nature of the goods. So I think
Right.
this is going to be like, sort of a work for the future once it is decided.
So what sectors are going to be impacted by this, passionate project?
Well, certainly, sort of all the countries are going to benefit. Afghanistan is going to benefit because they are going to charge, transit fees from Central Asia, or if the goods are coming from Pakistan to Central Asia, then again Afghanistan is going to be very big beneficiary. Pakistan is going to be beneficiary too, because if the things are being exported, to international markets through Gwadar or through Karachi port, then Pakistan is going to benefit in terms of collecting transit fee. Then it is going to also generate employment in different
Right.
sectors.
Of course.
It's going to create, like the port facilities, the dry ports, the labor intensive work which will be connected with this activity, services related work which will be connected with this activity is going to certainly expand in all the countries.
Right. The impacts of this trans-regional project would be on all the countries. But when we talk about Pakistan and Uzbekistan relations specifically, that both the countries have set a goal of the bilateral trade between the two countries to be over $1 billion US. What are the hurdles so far, and how to enhance the trade turnover to this passionate amount?
So Maryam, as we know, even last week, Uzbekistan hosted the ACO meeting in Tashkent as well.
Of course.
And Pakistan and Uzbekistan's trade volume and the trade agreements are on the rise. They signed over 9 MOUs. And the main aim of this MOU was to basically increase the trade turnover between Pakistan and Uzbekistan to at least $1 billion. So in that aspect, there were like various agreements signed. And Pakistan-Uzbekistan preferential trade agreement is set to be signed next month. Other than that, we are also in the final stages of signing the transit trade agreement between Pakistan and Uzbekistan.
I want to talk about preferential trade agreement that is to be signed next week, and we are expecting some, sectors that would be impacted by this. What are the sectors that would be impacted, and how would it, benefit the economies of both countries?
So Maryam, first of all, the key sectors that will be impacted and benefited from these agreements, first of all, it's like transportation. Other than that, digitization, e-commerce, agriculture, establishment of industries, and taking advantage of special economic zones both in Pakistan as well as Uzbekistan. So these are the areas that are coming under consideration.
Right. When we talk about e-commerce, what are the prospects for that, and how this would be impacting the new startups that we are seeing emerging in Pakistan?
So as we know that the whole e-commerce and the digital industry in Pakistan is also on the rise. And it's like bringing in a lot of like foreign exchange. It's like one of the fastest growing sectors in Pakistan. So this is like one area in which Uzbekistan is also investing a lot. And there are like areas in which there can be a lot of like cooperation. One other area that has come under discussion, even in the ECO conference, was fiber cable connectivity between Pakistan and Central Asian republics through Uzbekistan. So that's like one area that will be very important. So that's probably the main areas under digitization that are being discussed.
Right. So, Dr. Fazal Rahman, when we talk about Pakistan and Uzbekistan relations, we think about Termez economic zone. What is the progress on this so far, and how this would be impacting the connectivity between the two countries and in the region? If we are talking about that, there is a lot of work to be done.
Operations are basically, we have to look at the kind of industries they are going to put up in these special economic zones. And do we have the requisite human resource for these industries which are going to be put up there? Is there kind of a local endowment available in that region where these special economic zones are located? Is it going to be financially, supported by certain institutions, certain banks. What kind of joint ventures are coming in? Basic preparations are the basic infrastructure that we can offer to the people, to the industrialists who are putting up the industry there. The second thing is that the kind of regime that we are going to create there, the kind of laws, regulations which will be governing these special economic zones should be giving certain kind of incentives to the investors so that they can come and invest in these special economic zones. So far there are largely the Chinese companies, but certainly these are open to international investment, and Uzbekistan certainly can take advantage of these special economic zones and can invest. Their businessmen can invest either directly or in joint ventures with Pakistani entrepreneurs and can benefit from this.
Right, can benefit from this. So, Mr. Sheharyar, we were earlier talking about ML1, how this is going to impact the connectivity between Pakistan and Uzbekistan, and also I would like to ask you about the in the backdrop of CPEC, that Afghanistan is one of the major countries that would be connecting the dot between these countries. So, how would it impact the economy of the Afghanistan as well? And also there are a lot of hurdles faced by Pakistani transporters at the moment. What is progress on that?
So right now the ML1 project is included in the second phase of CPEC. So that basically starts from Karachi and goes on till Peshawar. That discussion is being held with Uzbekistan to basically extend the ML1 project under the CPEC framework and take it through Afghanistan from Mazar Sharif, Kabul, and connect it to Termez in Uzbekistan. So this whole project is envisioned to be at around $4.5 billion. So currently the main challenge that is coming is financing. And the other more important challenge is the security situation in Afghanistan. So we'll have to basically work on both of these issues before this project can actually start being implemented on ground. So one area where I see a lot of cooperation is the inclusion and the interest that is shown by Russia, and we'll be discussing it later as well. And if we can include these Central Asian republics and get Russia on board, because Russia is also, as you know...
So Foreign Minister is already on the visit. We will be discussing that later in the program, the impact of that. So,
So yes, so that is one area where this whole connectivity, the Trans-Afghanistan railway network that we basically call it, that can become a reality. So that is something that is being discussed with Uzbekistan as well, and it is definitely in the framework, larger framework of CPEC.
Right, it is in the larger framework of CPEC, and when we talk about Pakistan and Uzbekistan relations that are evolving and emerging with every passing day. So what about the 9 MOUs that are signed between the two countries? Dr. Fazal Rahman, how these MOUs in different sectors would be impacting economy of Pakistan, and what are the sectors that would be majorly affected by these MOUs?
Well, let me put a word of caution at this moment that signing MOUs have been sort of a practice in the past also, but it is the implementation of the MOUs, if it is not really implemented. We have signed dozens of MOUs, with all the Central Asian states starting from 1990s onward, and still we are, sort of going on signing the MOUs. But the thing is that, which MOUs are going to be implemented, which are doables, which are practical. So we should actually concentrate on that. The potential is huge. There is no denying the fact. But at the same time, we have to be very cautious in terms of from where the investment will come for all these projects, and who is going to finance them, what will be the terms and conditions for financing, and how this is going to be implemented. I think that's the most important thing.
Right. So let's talk about the implementation of these MOUs. What do you think should be kept in mind? What should be the structural and mechanisms that should be kept in mind for successful implementation of these MOUs?
Well, actually, the successful implementation for any MOU is basically the political will on both the sides. And I think if the political will is there, then the implementation is not a major issue. And the other thing is that we have to understand the bureaucratic practices in both the countries, because when we started CPEC, we encountered several such kind of bottlenecks. So we have to really remove those bottlenecks, make it easier for both the countries' business community to engage and to implement all these projects in different sectors. And I think agriculture is one of the sectors where we have to concentrate a lot, because in future that is going to be a very important focus for this region as far as the food security is concerned.
Right. So, Dr. Fazal Rahman, you mentioned about political will, and as we are witnessing that Pakistan's foreign policy is moving towards economy, and Pakistan is approaching a lot of friendly countries and countries in the region for enhancing the bilateral relations and for regional connectivity. So let's talk about the structural reforms of Uzbek government, how those reforms impacted the economy of Uzbekistan and what Pakistan can learn from those.
Well, actually, I think that we have been experiencing a little bit different kind of structural systems in Pakistan and in Uzbekistan. In Uzbekistan, to carry out reforms is much more easier and convenient as compared to Pakistan. I think on Pakistan's end, we need to undertake larger reforms, which includes financial and structural in terms of policies that we have been adopting. Our policy as far as investment is concerned are very lucrative. But in practice, when the investors come to Pakistan, they encounter a host of problems. So we have to really remove these contradictions that we have in our policy and in practices. So such kind of structural reforms are required, which can give certain incentives, certain attraction to expand trade, to facilitate investment in the country. So I think there is a lot of work to be done in that regard.
Right, a lot of work is to be done. So, Mr. Sheharyar, what kind of incentives should be added so that not only local investors but international investors come and invest in these mega projects?
So obviously there is a thorough framework that is in place when it comes to special economic zones in Pakistan. So we're providing regional connectivity, we're providing regional linkages, integration. And we're also giving financial incentives for international investors to come and establish their businesses and use Pakistan as a connectivity hub. So there are tax breaks, tax holidays. Other than that, for 5 years there won't be any taxes on their, the income that will be generated. So there are a lot of incentives. When we talk about relations between Uzbekistan and Pakistan, I also would want to point out that this year Pakistan is also supporting Uzbekistan's bid to join the World Trade Organization.
Of course, yes,
WTO.
very important.
So that's one area where Pakistan will facilitate Uzbekistan, and that will increase Uzbekistan's competitivity in the region as well. Other than that, when it comes to Gwadar and the Karachi port, Uzbekistan has also asked for cargo terminals to be established there, so they can continue their trade through Pakistan into the Arabian Sea.
Right.
So
we will talk about more about these trade relations and how both countries can cooperate further in the larger framework of CPEC. But we have to take a short break here. Welcome back. We were talking about how Pakistan supported Uzbekistan in WTO and how it positively impacted the bilateral relations between the two countries. Dr. Fazal Rahman, when we talk about Pak-Uzbek relations, let's talk about the recent energy crisis that Pakistan is facing. How Uzbekistan can cooperate with Pakistan government on helping in energy issues, and what kind of agreements could be done, how these countries can cooperate on different sectors related to energy?
Well, I think that Uzbekistan, among Central Asian states, is a country which is relatively producing less energy as compared or supplying, different kind of sources like oil and gas as compared to Turkmenistan and Kazakhstan. But relatively, in terms of hydel power and other sources of energy generation, I think Uzbekistan is quite well off. So Pakistan and Uzbekistan can definitely have cooperation, and there's already some kind of cooperation going on under CASA 1000. And Pakistan is going to be one of the countries which will be beneficiary from the energy from Central Asia. So I think it's like over $1 billion project for laying the transmission lines from Central Asia to Afghanistan to Pakistan. So definitely, but now right
so
now,
how to fast track those projects that are already in consideration?
Well, the fast tracking requires, again, it's a matter of investment, and it's a matter of stability in Afghanistan. If Afghanistan is stable, if Afghanistan is, the conditions are normal, then perhaps it can be put on a fast track. But as far as I think the current situation is concerned, the economic conditions here and economic conditions in Afghanistan and, the security conditions in Afghanistan, I think it is going to be rather difficult to put it on fast track, but certainly work is in progress, it is going on. CASA 2000 is it started, way back, 15, 20 years back, but still it is going on. It has not been really, been very effective in terms of implementation. But let's hope, let's cross our fingers that it is going to continue and it is going to go on. Pakistan is going to be one of the beneficiaries from this project. But at the same time, we are also developing our own energy resources, and perhaps in coming days and in coming years, we are going to be self-sufficient in that. So, but all we need is to strengthen our transmission line system in the country to sustain this power which is already available in the country.
Right. So there are a lot of hurdles at institutional level, but if we talk about people-to-people contact, how can we utilize people-to-people contact to enhance relations between the two countries, specifically in the context of trade?
Actually, we have to create mechanisms where we can facilitate our businessmen and businessmen in Uzbekistan to get connected. And there has to be certain platforms which can provide real-time information about the business opportunities in both the countries so that people can see and benefit and avail those opportunities. At the same time, I think language again is a barrier. We have to learn.
But there are cultural affinities. How can we explore those?
Well, cultural affinities are very much there. They are very much part of the Asian tradition, Asian culture, and the norms and practices are almost the same that we practice here in Pakistan. So what we have to do is basically to identify the areas where we can create some kind of complementarities in order to trade with them. Because if we are producing the same kind of things, then trade is not possible. So we have to really identify and try to, I think, create an environment where we can add value to the produce in Pakistan and in Uzbekistan so that we can both benefit from value-added production.
Right. So both countries could benefit from value-added production. So when we talk about trade between the two countries, Mr. Sheharyar, transit trade agreement is to be signed between the two countries. What is this agreement? What sectors are going to be impacted by this?
So Maryam, this transit trade agreement is mainly focusing on the Pakistan and Uzbek transporters that are basically indulging in trade activities through using the road networks from Pakistan through Afghanistan to Uzbekistan. So one area where there are like some problems emerging, that is like related to customs issues in Afghanistan. So Pakistan and Uzbekistan have now decided to jointly plan a visit to Kabul and basically take Kabul on board and basically take their problems and discuss them mutually and come up with a solution that is like beneficial.
So is security the only concern at the moment?
Security is a big concern. Obviously, all regional players would be very careful before investing huge sums of money in like any sort of like development projects or infrastructure projects unless or until security is like catered to. Other than that, there are like a lot of like frameworks that need to be developed ever since the Taliban government has taken over. So there needs to be a lot of work done when it comes to customs, rules, regulations, frameworks of trade that have not yet been decided. And I always advocate that most of the agreements and MOUs that we basically sign in terms of regional integration are bilateral in nature.
Right.
So we need to get Afghanistan on board and at least like come up with a tri-party agreement in which Afghanistan and like the issues emanating from that geographical area can be taken into consideration and resolved as soon as possible.
Right. So when we talk about regional connectivity, all the countries in the region, specifically keeping in mind the situation in Afghanistan and the strategic location of Afghanistan should be kept in picture. We will be discussing more about this, but we would be thanking Dr. Fazal Rahman for joining in today's show. We have to take a short break here. Welcome back. We are talking about the potential of trade and economic relations between Pakistan and Uzbekistan. We have been joined on Skype by Mr. Hamayoun Khan, who is expert international relations. Thank you very much, Mr. Hamayoun, for joining in today's show. We are discussing the potential and the hurdles of trade and economic relations between Pakistan and Uzbekistan. So as earlier Mr. Sheharyar were mentioning about transit trade agreement that is to be signed between the two countries. How do you see this agreement strengthening the relations between the two countries?
Thank you, Maryam. I guess very rightly said by Mr. Sheharyar about the potential and also the transit trade agreement. Uzbekistan and Pakistan are one of the two closest countries in terms of our strategic relationship. We have signed a treaty in last year about our strategic relationship, and not many countries in Pakistan whom we have strategic partnership, and Uzbekistan is one of them. So that shows our importance that the Pakistani side gives toward Uzbekistan. And on the other side, Uzbekistan also does the same thing. In the recent past, we have signed 9 MOUs in different areas with Uzbekistan, including areas of politics, diplomacy, trade, there's an investment, energy, connectivity, security, defense, and then people-to-people contact as well. We are about to have a very good visa regime between the two countries. We're about to start air travel between the two countries, which earlier was between Lahore to Tashkent, and it got stopped. But now we're going to do that. Then, apart from that, you also need to know that, Uzbekistan and Pakistan also are members of some of the very important organizations, including United Nations, OIC, ECO, SCO is one of them. And then they also have a joint ministerial committee which regularly interacts with each other. With all these things and this relationship between Uzbekistan and Pakistan in the last 5 years, particularly in Shaukat Mirziyoyev, when he took over as the president in 2016, it has gone from like a lower level to a very high level. Trade is increasing, and I'm sure the previous speakers and you have already discussed about the transit, the railway link between the two countries.
Yes,
it's
Tirmiz,
trans-regional Tirmiz to Mazar Sharif to Kabul, and Kabul to then Islamabad, and then from here to Peshawar to Karachi as well. This is going to create a huge difference within the Central Asian and South Asian countries, because this could prove a very good connectivity link. Once that is established, and there has been mechanism, there are agreements signed between all the three countries, and work is going on the Pakistani side. We have already signed agreement with the Chinese on ML1. So if our ML1 will already be working and existing there from Peshawar to Karachi, we only need to connect the Afghanistan portion, and the Uzbek side has also been working on there from Tirmiz to Mazar Sharif portion as well. So this is going to be like a game changer as well.
Mr. Hamayoun, we were joined by Dr. Fazal Rahman earlier, and he mentioned that a lot of agreements are signed, but there are still a lot of hurdles in place. How to address those?
One of the main reason or hurdle between this transit activity was Afghanistan. And this was also one of the reasons, because in the past relationship was not as good, because there were like different factions in Afghanistan which were having different connection with both the governments. But of late, there is a unanimity of views. They're agreeing to expand their bilateral trade. They're agreeing to affirm to the commitments that they have made on international forums as well. So yes, the security aspect, which is like the Afghanistan in between, once that is improved, and it is improving, the transportation agreement between Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Uzbekistan. Now the Pakistani trucks and traders can go and they go up to Uzbekistan, and same is from the Uzbekistan as well. There has been a convoy from Uzbekistan which has come and gone to Gwadar port as well, bringing some trade, different things as well. Within that realm, since this is like last 5-6 years, we have been giving importance to each other on a different level. I can predict that within a year or two, you will see a massive increase in trade between the two countries.
Right, and can this trade turnover be enhanced to 1 billion US dollar?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think the potential between not only Uzbekistan and Pakistan, but from Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Uzbekistan, and then other countries, when we
Of course.
increase this linkages of in the link between the Central Asian and South Asian, and then we expand CPEC to Afghanistan and then on to Central Asian states, I think 1 billion would be pretty less, because there's very untapped potential between both the countries. There's a huge tourism which could bring from both the sides to each other. There is energy, transportation, pharmaceutical, IT, agriculture, you name it. So I think these are two untapped markets which have not been explored yet. And if we can do that, I think 1 billion would be just the beginning. We could take it up to 4 to 5 billion in 5 years.
Right, right. There is a lot of potential. So how can we, explore this potential further, and how to strengthen the relations between Pakistan and Uzbekistan?
Maryam, we tend to focus a lot on regional connectivity and economic connectivity. We also, I think, need to focus more on social connectivity as well. And I really agree with Mr. Hamayoun when he basically talked about developing air linkages or more robust direct air linkages between Uzbekistan and Pakistan. And that is like somewhere where we are lacking. And this is also somewhere where we can get immediate progress done. A lot of our friends basically who want to visit Uzbekistan right now have to go through Dubai or Abu Dhabi, which is a very long and indirect route.
Yes.
So that is like somewhere where air links can be developed directly between Uzbekistan and Pakistan. Other than that, as Hamayoun Saab also mentioned, and I agree with him, that the visa regimes between the two countries will have to be liberalized. So there are like a lot of people-to-people connections that can be developed, and business-to-business connections as well. We also have a lot of shared history with Uzbekistan, starting from the Mughal era, and I'm sure a lot of people from Pakistan would want to visit Tashkent, Samarkand, Bukhara, and these connections will also help enable business connections as well. Connectivity will increase, and that is somewhere where we can get immediate results.
Right, we can get immediate results. And when we talk about these connections, Russia is one of the regional players, and we know that Foreign Minister Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari is on 2-day visit to Moscow, and a lot of issues on bilateral relations as well as on regional and international security issues would be discussed in this visit. So Mr. Hamayoun, what are your expectations from this visit, and how significant is the timing of visit?
I think it's very, very important and very, very significant. Recently, the Russian energy minister was over to Pakistan with a huge delegation. And
Yes,
they discussed about the expansion of economic relationship. They discussed about the preferential oil and gas agreements between Pakistan and Russia, which Pakistan could really, really use in this current situation where our economy is having a huge blow by a lot of sides. So in this particular trip of the Russian foreign minister, Pakistani foreign minister to Russia on the invitation of Russian foreign minister, the timing is very significant. After this visit, probably both the foreign minister and the commerce minister are due in United States as well, to discuss trade relationship and further relationship. So this also shows the Pakistan's good future economic and diplomatic angle, where we're trying to balance the sides with each other without taking any a big decision in terms of the war in Ukraine or other issues. Pakistan has taken a very principled stance from the very beginning, and we continue to have that. within that realm, if our neighboring countries are enjoying preferential agreements on energy, grain, and other things, why not Pakistan? And I think this is a very, very good move. This is basically a continuation of the last 6-7 months, which Pakistan had continued to develop relationship with Russia. And with this particular trip, we are also going to reaffirm those trips. He's there only for 2 days. He reached this morning, so let's see what are going to happen and what agreements or what statements will come out from there.
So, Mr. Sheharyar, what are expectations from this visit? Specifically, if we talk about Afghanistan, would be one of the major issues that would be discussed in this visit, as well as the trade relations between the two countries, on which a lot of technical committees are already working and in talks.
So, Maryam, this visit is also kind of a follow-up to the Intergovernmental Commission meeting that basically happened earlier this month, when an 80-member delegation from Russia, led by the Russian Energy Minister, Mr. Nikolai, came to Pakistan. So this is also in line with that visit as well, in which there has been a lot of understanding that has been developed in Russia providing subsidized oil to Pakistan. And there were a lot of talks between in the currency exchange that has to take place, and it was basically decided that the currency of friendly countries will be incorporated and used for the payments that need to be made for the oil that will be imported from Russia. So the mechanisms and frameworks in regards to this deal, which according to the visit were supposed to be finalized by end of March. So I think this visit will also facilitate those conversations as well, and some sort of formal agreement is expected to be made.
Right. So let's talk about the energy issue and the discounted oil prices. Mr. Hamayoun, what do you think would be the outcome of these meetings? Are you positive, optimistic about these bilateral meetings that are going to take place in Moscow?
I think, as Mr. Sheharyar earlier was mentioning, that this is a continuation of the previous trip. Our energy minister was, their energy minister was in Pakistan with a huge delegation. There is an inter-ministerial discussion going on. I think the expectation is, and this is again mere speculation on my part, that probably it would be 25 to 30% discounted rate that Pakistan is going to get in oil and gas from the Russian side. Apart from that, we also need help from the Russian side in developing our infrastructure here. Particularly, they have already helped us in the past with the steel mill. They have very good metallurgy. They have very good expertise in certain areas. We also like to increase. These trips are going to pave the way for a future better collaboration, not only in oil and gas, grain trade, energy trade, agriculture trade, but also in defense trade as well. So this is in my opinion, a very good trip, and the timing is very good and very interesting at the same time.
Right. So, Mr. Sheharyar, what about China-Pakistan economic corridor? Because Russia is obviously showing interest in investing in CPEC as well. And like you earlier were mentioning about Uzbekistan as well, that Russia is an important player when we talk about these rail projects as well as other regional connectivity projects. How do you see the impact of these meetings on overall regional connectivity?
So, Maryam, as we've also discussed this in previous programs as well, Russia is definitely looking eastwards and developing new markets. Ever since the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the resultant sanctions on the Russian regime, Russia has to look eastwards and towards South Asia to develop and nurture further markets for its oil and gas exports. So that is one area where Russia, it would be in Russia's interest to become a part of the overall CPEC framework, develop the road and railway networks that are needed to basically access. Russia already has access to the Central Asian republics, but it would want to get direct access to South Asian countries, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, and the rest of the states are also key players, and they are also energy starved countries, and they are expanding economically heavily. So that is one area that could pull Russia into the ambit of CPEC. Russia would be one of countries that would be very interested in developing the Trans-Afghanistan railway network that we keep discussing. And whenever we talk about the Trans-Afghan railway network, the biggest hurdle that comes in is financing. So Russia is like that one country in partnership with China that can develop stakes in Afghanistan. Other than that, all the regional players will develop a stake in stabilizing Afghanistan. And once these economic networks are established, when this regional connectivity takes root, I'm sure a lot of security issues or security concerns will also be automatically resolved.
Right. So, Mr. Hamayoun, when we talk about Pakistan and Russia relations, Afghanistan is obviously always in the picture. But keeping in mind the current ongoing war in Ukraine, do you think all these ambitious projects are going to be put in place or put in practice as per their timelines?
I think obviously there's a huge factor of the war in Ukraine, and international pressure is building. In one of the previous programs, Mr. Sheharyar, I guess, mentioned about the sanctions which Russian companies have. So in terms of those companies investing in other countries, yes, we will have to see how those will work. But other than that, within Afghanistan or within Central Asian countries, I guess Pakistan is developing through a very bilateral mechanism. And these are sovereign countries, and we've already signed different agreements with them. MOUs are signed, different visa regimes are already being decided. There is only like maybe a month or two when we initially start those things. So I don't think that it will have a bigger impact on the Russian and Ukraine war. But on these sides, Afghanistan and its security and what is happening there will definitely have impact in the implementation of project. If we are talking about physical connectivity project, gas pipeline, transmission lines, and other. We need security in Afghanistan, and right now we don't see too much security there, so it will have an impact.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Hamayoun Khan, for your valuable input in our program. Thank you very much, Mr. Sheharyar Khan, for joining in today's show. In today's show, we talked about Pakistan and Uzbekistan relations and the potential of these relations. When we talk about regional connectivity, all the countries in the region play an important role. And Pakistan is establishing bilateral relations with all these countries based on common economic interests. And we also discussed about Foreign Minister's recent visit to Moscow, and a lot of hopes are from this visit. When we talk about regional connectivity is always the prerequisite for economic development. That is all from Game Changer tonight. Take care. Allah Hafiz.